Hey guys, this is
What's
Devon
up?
Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And I am Echo, also known as the other person on this show.
And it's been a while.
You could say
Yep,
that.
been a while.
We're still
But we're
alive.
back. Finally, Victoria's been very busy. And we are here, finally, to re-record this episode because the first
Yep.
time I screwed the computer up and there was no audio. So go, Devon! Yay!
We don't talk about that.
So here we are. What are we talking about today, Victoria?
We are reviewing Follow Me, and then we're doing OAC 2015 predictions using the episode titles. And then we are going to review everyone's favorite Soaplessly Devoted.
Yes. Also, Happy New Year's, everybody, because this is supposed to be the first episode of 2050.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. I told you we were behind.
Happy New Year's, everyone.
Yep.
Happy New Year's.
In the news, first off, we got an episode title a long time ago, cough cough, for the first episode of album 59, which is episode 777, First Things First. And of course, there's
I
only...
think that's going to be Penny saying that to Wooten.
yeah.
She's like, okay, first things first, we've never gone on a date before. I didn't even know that you liked me, and now you're proposing to me.
Friendly reminder, of course, that album 59 is only going to have 6 episodes, so there will only be 5 more episode titles to follow. Also, album 59 is going to start premiering on the OAC May 8th, which is a long ways away from when it's supposed to come out, but for us right now, that's very soon. So it's like, man, that's crazy. Spoilers are going to be everywhere very quickly because it will not be coming on the radio until the fall.
So are we going to tell them what we're doing with album 59?
Yeah, we're probably going to listen to them in advance and review them in advance, but we won't release them and those episodes until they come out on the radio. But we will not listen to them until we get caught up on the Oddcast first, so that we're not taking away from getting caught up with doing that. So don't worry. Okay, first things first. Episode 765, Follow Me, written by Marshall Younger and Phil Lawler.
And
so
Devin's gonna
this
do the
episode
description on this one.
So this episode is it's a kids radio adventure and a speculative hypothetical look at what would have happened if some of Jesus' disciples and other figures from his life all knew each other as children living in the same area around the Sea of Galilee, and how their interactions as children could have shaped the way that they would eventually later interact with Jesus and the rest of history.
And it's just their misadventures and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a pretty... I was pretty nervous when I heard the concept for the episode, because what I was expecting was a lot of kind of like slapstick humor, like literally putting like Matthew and Barrett and Jay in Bible times, like with their voices and their personalities, but just putting them back in time.
Like, if you look at
disciples.
the OAC picture for the episode, it's really misleading because it's like the Last Supper and Jesus is in the middle and he's like face palming, and
Except
it's like
it's
all
not
the kids
Jesus,
running around
we found
screaming. What?
Except it's not Jesus, we found out, remember? It's the rabbi.
Oh, right.
Rabbi Whit.
So for me,
But no,
this episode
turned out to be really good, very complicated, and historically accurate.
yeah, in my opinion, you would think we would have learned something from Drake the Cosmic Copper about, like, not, I don't know, like, judging a book by its cover, but we didn't.
Yeah,
we
but that was
needed
kind
a
of a
reminder.
special case. I mean,
Yeah.
anyways, so,
But this episode was so good. Devon listened to it, and I wasn't really looking that forward to listening to it. And Devon listened to it, and he's just like, oh my gosh, listen to this right now. And I'm like, why? He's like, it's too clever for me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, too clever for me. Listen to it. And then I did. I'm like, I don't understand what just happened. I've listened to it like over 7 times now, I think. And I think I finally almost grasped the entire plot. Like, that's how complicated it is. This plot is like a cacophony of puzzle meshing together into a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I mean, like as you go through my notes, you can kind of see it's a very irregular note structure
Probably.
because of like my multiple times through the episode as I realized that I had no idea what was going on. So first off, and I'm still really want to know this, if the Book of Speculations is going to continue to be a thing in the future, like a regular
hope it
kids
is,
radio
actually.
feature. Yeah.
I like when the episode started because I thought it was gonna be an imagination station episode or something. But when I found out that they were actually gonna do this, I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. And then it starts, and then it's like, welcome to the Book of Speculations, where nothing is true, or is it? And then I'm just like, oh, actually, that's a good angle to look at it.
Yeah, I really
That's actually pretty
appreciated.
smart. And then
Yeah,
he kept on mentioning over and over again, he's like, this isn't true. This is just us having fun. And then I'm just
he
like,
said it twice, but
that's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciated the fact that they emphasized like the difference between fact and speculation / possibility here, just like he did in Patrick, A Heart of Fire, where he was telling Jared, and he's like, okay, this is fact, this is the legend part, stuff like that. Like, it's a really important clarifier. Speaking of Jared, Brandon Gilberstadt.
Who did he play again?
He was John, I believe.
Okay. My child, Brandon, I love him so much. He's so important to me. I didn't know that he was in this episode for such a long time. He's just Jared. I love you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. We're having some technical issues today. You may notice there's a lot of cutting because of multiple takes here. Just ignore that. Anyways, yeah, I still can't believe that you didn't realize that Brandon was in the episode. I mean, I guess I knew that he and Zach Callison were both going to be in the episode beforehand, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty distinct.
So
anyways,
let's talk about that.
we're about
Callison's
halfway through the
in
episode
this.
the first time.
Zach Callison's in this. And it's awkward because he's in this and the voice actor who replaced him is also in this.
He is?
I thought you said he was.
I don't think so.
Oh.
No.
I remember last time we were saying, like, could you... Because we watch Steven Universe now, which is a show that Zach Callison stars on.
No, I think we were saying it would be awkward if they kicked Zach out of the role for Steven and then
that's what we were saying
with Gunnar Sizemore. But Gunnar Sizemore isn't in Follow Me.
Oh, I thought you said he was.
No.
Oh.
Anyways, so about halfway through the first time I was listening to this episode, it was the point where I was like, this episode is clearly very, like, spiritually deep and clever. I can tell, but I don't understand any of it. Because, for one thing, I do not know barely anything about, like, the individual disciples or their pastors.
I didn't either.
Stuff like that. Secondly, we have a whole bunch of new voices and, like, new characters, and I could not keep track of who's speaking and who was which person and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it made it really confusing between all that stuff. I really liked how they tied in Joshua's older brother and Bethlehem and Herod slaughtered the babies and stuff, so we already had like a grudge against.
I didn't expect that to happen, like him to say that, but I liked that part.
Yeah, so it was
like, oh,
he would already have a grudge against Jesus, even though, you know, he hasn't, like, they don't even know Jesus was from Bethlehem yet. So.
Speaking of which, Barabbas.
Yeah, that was so clever.
I didn't get that until Devon told me.
That was so clever. I was wondering where things were going with him, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's no disciple named Joshua. And then he's like, son of Abbas, and he's like, Joshua Barabbas. And I was like...
He doesn't say it normally, though. He's like, Joshua Barabbas.
Well,
and
yeah, that's like, the point.
Yeah.
because he was emphasizing the fact that they kind of like set it up because they did the previous one, and making sure that people are aware that that's how Jewish names work, that your last name
Yeah, I
is
know.
Bar, which
Like,
means son of,
that was clever. That
like
was
Jesus
so
Bar Joseph.
clever. Who wrote this episode, Devon? Who wrote
Marshall
it?
and Phil.
They're so clever.
Yes, they are.
Marshall, Phil, you too. You're so clever. You're too clever for me.
Yeah, so anyways, I was really feeling like I knew that if I knew a lot more about the disciples, then this whole episode would be making a lot more sense. Like, I couldn't even name the 12. Even after all the Bible study I had to do to write this review, I still can't name the 12 because I was looking through the list. I was like, I've never heard of these disciples before. It also doesn't help that like some of them have like 2 or 3 names.
Yeah,
So,
I know. They all got name changes.
yeah,
Like,
thanks Jesus.
Levi
You really
becomes
made it easier
Matthew,
on us. Well,
and
yeah.
like
Some of them I think it's like
John stays John, but he's like John the Beloved, but I'm not sure if that's the John in this episode. I don't
it
think it
is.
is. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's also
And
John Mark.
yeah, there's like 5 Johns and like 3 Matthews, and then
Yeah.
like 12 names I
And
can't
Simon
name.
becomes Peter and all that and stuff. Yeah, it's confusing. I knew some things about specific individuals, and I could see some of those qualities I was picking up, and that was cool. But I knew that there was more that I wasn't understanding. So basically, it was like this episode's super clever, and too clever for me given my mediocre knowledge of the Gospels.
I had
It
to
also
ask my
reminded.
pastor so many questions about the disciples after listening to this.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's the good thing about this episode is both of us actually had to like do research. Like, Victoria asked people questions, and I had to do a bunch of looking up stuff online about the disciples to
I
better
didn't feel
understand
like
this
looking
episode.
up stuff online, so I just asked my mom and then Pastor James. It's weird
Mom
calling him
does
that.
know a lot of
And
stuff.
Pastor Dwight.
Yes, our mother is a wonderful resource, so that's handy. So yeah, this episode, like that structure of it, really reminded me of In a Kingdom Far Away, in the way that it took real biblical people and it stuck them together and has a single narrative that expresses all their different traits simultaneously while remaining cohesive, except for the fact that this one, it put them all together and took a single narrative that interwove all of their personality traits and stuff like that, and what they would do. Whereas, and they were people who did coexist at the same time. Whereas,
So, like, if you look at it this way, In a Kingdom Far Away is a shonen, and this one's a shoujo, which makes this one better.
yes. And In a Kingdom Far Away, as Victoria was saying in a roundabout way, instead took people from different times and put them together and expressed all of their stories within a single narrative. Whereas this one was about character traits. Nice, nice.
Thank you.
So at this point, I was like, okay, time to listen to the episode again and take exhaustive notes on who everyone is and stuff like that. So I took notes on the characters in the episode, and then I looked up their stuff in scripture. I didn't even realize I almost missed it completely while doing research, because I just assumed that Levi was just like, random NPC here, not realizing that he was the Apostle Matthew and the one who wrote the first gospel.
I was asking my mom, I'm like, what do you know about these people? And I'm like naming names, and I say Levi, and she's like, you mean Matthew? And I'm like, no, his name's Levi. She's like, no, he goes on to be the disciple Matthew. And I'm just like, oh, I gotta tell Devon. And we found out on the same day, probably around the same time.
I know, I almost missed it because I was updating my character playlists in iTunes, because I have playlists for like all the characters who appear in more than one episode, and like the playlist lists all the episodes that they appear in. And so I was like looking up, like James and AIO Wiki and stuff, and trying to make sure I find the right James, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like on AIO Wiki, it's always like James biblical, and there's like ABCDE, Peter biblical, ABC. Like there's so many generic Bible names and stuff like that. So making sure I get the right one to see if they really do appear in another episode. And I looked up Levi, and it said Levi's been in one episode, and it was BTV Grace. And I was like, really? So I hit BTV Grace in iTunes. Thank goodness that we have it. Otherwise, I might not have realized this. But I just kind of skipped through it quickly, randomly quickly found the scene where Jesus goes to the house of Levi, the tax collector. And then he becomes Matthew when he follows Jesus. And I was like, wait a minute, is this the same guy? And then I look it
You're
up,
like,
and I realized it was the same guy, and I was like, so yeah, anyway, so
Kermit flailing arms.
these are my notes on the characters and who they are in the Bible and how they kind of connect to each other. So we have James, who is knowledgeable, but he lacks humility. He really wants to be a rabbi, and he knows the scripture inside and out, and he really doesn't want to fish. In the Bible, is fiery temper, passionate, just like his brother. He would excuse his anger as righteous indignation, which could be a sign of pride and lack of humility, which would tie into what the rabbi said. He was often silent for long periods of time, didn't always apply the gospel to earthly matters, which could also be connected to him like knowing the scripture, but not like applying it, which could also tie back to that. Did you just lose me on Skype for a bit there? Oh, the icon said I was offline at the top. Oh, the internet's awful today. Okay, so we had him. We have Simon Peter, who's one of the most obvious ones, because he likes to take revenge, but then he denies his involvement and denies knowing Barabbas when Barabbas gets in trouble. He asks hard questions because he really wants the Messiah to come, but he wants the Messiah to come to bring vengeance on Rome. And he says it's better go to prison for your convictions than to hide safely behind a wall of scrolls. So in the Bible, likewise, he was the one who was cutting off ears, denied Jesus when Jesus got into trouble. He was rash and impulsive, so a lot like the episode here, but ended up being, of course, the rock on which the church was built, which is why Jesus named him Peter, because it's like Petra, which means rock. And he's also the one who walked on water. Then we have John the Beloved. He really wants to know in the episode what the Messiah will look like and if they'd recognize him. He passionately waits for Jesus, but he wants to see him with his heart in fulfillment of Scripture, unlike Simon, who just wanted him to come and free the Jews on like an earthly level. And in the Bible, John, he loved Jesus.
My precious Brandon.
He loved Jesus super dearly, and he was loved by him. He's the author of the Gospel of John. He followed John the Baptist before he followed Jesus, which really, I think ties into the episode with that fact that he's like, I want to search out, I want to find him, know him with my heart, which is why he went to follow John the Baptist before he went to follow Jesus. And he was the one who looked after Mary, Jesus' mother, after Jesus' death. And he knew the scripture very well.
I was going to say, what a saint, but then I realized he probably is considered to be a saint.
Yeah, I think so, probably. And then we have Joshua, who is Barabbas, and he's a rabble-rouser, rider against the Romans, and a thief. So, yeah, 100% spot on, pretty, cut and dry. And then we have Levi, who's a son of a tax collector. So that's the way I saw it when I read it in my notes. He's the son of a tax collector and accusatory and angry. And in the Bible, he is a tax collector and he's accusatory and angry. He becomes the Apostle Matthew, who writes the Gospel of Matthew, first book in the New Testament. But he was very dishonest and greedy before he met Jesus. So it's also worth noting that John, James, and Peter were Jesus' 3 closest disciples out of the 12.
They were his Brody 3.
Yes. Or 4, I guess.
4, yeah.
Including
Close
Jesus.
enough.
So it was like, I don't remember, it must probably the second or third time I was listening to the episode. Because, it was when I was looking up the stuff about it. Because I'd looked up information on what we know about Barabbas in the past when I wrote a short story about him. So I knew that his first name was Jesus, but I'd forgotten about that. So when I was looking this up, I saw that. And I was like, wait a minute, why is his name Joshua? And then suddenly I was like, I just remembered. Oh, snap. Because Joshua is the anglicized version of Jesus, right? Because Jesus in Hebrew is Yeshua, but if you directly transliterate Yeshua, you get Joshua into English. So his name is Joshua, son of Abbas, which is Jesus Barabbas. Like, Oh, so clever. Yeah.
I noticed that since his last name is Barabbas, that means they pulled like PE military name thing and they could just call him by his last name.
That's not just the military.
I know.
Okay, so we move on to the bonus video for this episode on the OAC. The video started out giving a summary of the previous 12 OAC episodes, or rather the previous 12 OAC documentaries. Talked about a guy who created the mission ball, which is a soccer ball where all the patches on the soccer ball have the gospel written all over them. And they use them all over the world. The balls come in 21 languages total, so the patches will have like the 10 commandments and key like, Roman road verses, John 3:16, stuff like that, all over it in a specific language. And they have in 21 different languages, and they give them out on mission trips so that while they're there to fill people's physical needs, like, building schools and orphanages and stuff like that, they can give the kids these soccer balls that'll stick around long after they use, because, in these countries, there's nothing that'll bring a whole village of kids together faster than a soccer ball, and it's durable, and then every time they see it, it has gospel all over it, and it'll leave it and stay there in the village long after they go back, to wherever, whence they came. The last segment was the cool one. It was a clip from a documentary talking about education in ancient Israel. So it was a really cool historical lesson that really helped contextualize the episode a lot, I felt. So basically it's like this. Young Hebrew kids boys and girls, which I was surprised by, that girls all the way back then were allowed to go to school in Israel. Super cool. So young Hebrew kids would all attend what would be like an elementary school, which was called Beth Safur, where they would learn the law, and they would memorize large portions of the Torah, so the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. After that, around age 13, which makes sense, because that's when you get like, what's the word I'm looking for, Victoria?
No,
13,
that's not the right word.
with the party when you're 13.
A bar mitzvah.
Yes, thank you. A bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah, if you're a girl. Yes. And that's the point where you become...
Isn't it quinceañera if you're a girl?
That's Spanish.
Right, never mind.
It's when you turn 15 if you're in Mexico.
Stop laughing at me.
Bar mitzvah if you're a boy, bat mitzvah if you're a girl. But I think bat mitzvah is a more recent kind of ceremony. And that's when you're considered an adult in Jewish culture, because the bar mitzvah means that you are now responsible for the consequences of your own actions instead of your parents being responsible for you. Anyway, so after age 13 and you're like an adult, most people would go on to learn their family trade and continue it, but some would stay for the high school, which is the Beth Midrash, and they would listen to the rabbis discuss the text, and they would learn the Tanakh, which is the whole Old Testament. And again, they would memorize huge sections of it, if not the entire thing, word for word.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. So at this point, if someone believed that they had God-given gifts within them to become a rabbi, and that they had the God-given compulsion to do so, they would choose the rabbi whom they wanted to follow, and they would ask to become their disciple. So they'd say, I want to follow you. And then the rabbi would turn away the majority of people, but would choose those who had the highest dedication and gifts. And then that disciple would follow them around 24/7 for years, following everywhere they go, listening to everything they say, learning, walking, listening, memorizing every single word of the Tanakh until they finally become a rabbi. So it requires this unimaginable dedication that doesn't really have an equivalent in our society today. Like even getting doing postdoctoral work, all of that schoolwork, stuff like that, like all those years of school, probably can't even compare to the amount of dedication it would take to become a rabbi back then. So that's why this title is so significant, because we see a little bit of that process that gets shut down, right, with James asking the rabbi. But then overall, we have this whole thing about Jesus calling them to be his disciples. So that's why this title is significant, because it points out that Jesus, as always, went the opposite of the grain, because he went to these fishermen and he said, I want you to follow me. He sought out the disciples from those who didn't make it in the synagogue, and he chose them to follow. Because, like I said, what would happen is you'd choose the rabbi you want, you go and say, I want to follow you, and then probably be rejected. Maybe they'll accept you as a disciple. But Jesus sought them out and asked them. So it really ties back to the idea that God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So it's really cool, and it really, adds so much more to the title of this episode, I feel. So I thought it was a really good historical lesson to help understand the episode better. Yeah. Okay, final thoughts, Victoria? Or do you have other stuff to say?
Well, no, I think you covered everything pretty nicely. I want to give this episode 5 out of 5, but part of me feels like due to its complicatedness, maybe I shouldn't. That doesn't mean that I don't like it, because I really do like it. But just because it can be really hard to follow for people, especially younger viewers, it's going to take them a very long time to understand it. I don't know, maybe I'll just make it a 4.7 because of that. If it wasn't, I love overly complicated stuff, I'd say for people who might have a hard time understanding complicated things, 4.7, but otherwise, if you're fine with it, then 5 out of 5.
And I think I will give it 5 out of 5. Because really, like I said, this was a deeply layered, intricate episode that took multiple re-listens to understand, which doesn't happen on something that's not like mystery action adventure usually, or that's not multiple parts or something like that. And it's not like they just wrote an episode that was complicated with these characters they created. They did this with these characters while still keeping them true to who they are as presented in the Gospels, which is the crazy thing. It's like you look at this and you're like, how did you figure out how to write this in a way that would tie all these things together like this? And it's very impressive. And, it was refreshing to get a straight take on all of it, and a historically accurate take on all of it, without needing to put in a bunch of slapsticky punchlines. And man, it's really dark in here.
I am so glad that there's not slapstick in this episode, and I'm really glad that they made it Book of Speculations. I want more Book of Speculations. This was really, really good. Do.
So yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah. I'm giving it 2 marks. I'm cheating. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 personally, but if you don't like re-listening to complicated things to try and understand them, then you might not enjoy it as much. So 4.7 out of 5. But yeah, does that make sense?
I guess so, but I think we're giving our personal ratings here, right? So
okay, then 5 out of 5. It was amazing, and everyone should listen to it. And if they don't understand it, then you're not the only one. Take comfort in that fact.
Okay, so that's the end of that. Time for our predictions for the 2015 OAC episodes. So I'll turn you over to that right now. Okay, here we go. Time to talk about our predictions for the Odyssey Adventure Club 2015 in the year of our Lord episodes. So we've already obviously
what do you think Follow Me is about, Devon?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
That's gonna be a really dumb episode. I heard it's supposed to be about the young apostles or disciples. That sounds dumb.
It's probably gonna be this stupid comedy thing where they just make it
slapstick and dumb sound effects.
And all that.
Let's skip that episode.
Yeah, let's not even listen to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be the only episode we've never heard, but it'll probably not be worth listening to.
Obviously not. Okay, so Victoria, let's alternate reading off these episode titles and their numbers, I guess. So first off, January, we have episode 765, Follow Me.
Do you want me to read the next 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Episode 766 through 768 are The Cure, parts 1 through 3.
For February, March, and April.
Yeah.
Then for May, we have 769, BTV, To Tell the Truth.
BTV! Then we have for June, 770, To the Ends of the Earth.
And then for July and August, 771 and 2, Pinocchio, The Tale of a Foolish Puppet, parts 1 and 2.
Oh, how I loathe Pinocchio.
Even if he's going to be played by Jay.
Wait, what?
We talked about this last time, Victoria.
Oh, how I love Pinocchio.
Anyways.
What's the
September.
next month? Okay, September, 773, Hidden Gems.
And then October, 774, Walter's Flying Bus.
And then November, we have 775, Take It on Trust.
And finally, December, 776, A Daughter's Love.
So let's start with The Cure.
Yeah. So we already knew a lot about what The Cure was going to be about before.
Maybe it has, it's going to have everyone's favorite Connie's ex, problematic Jeff.
I'm not sure about, because I saw somewhere way back when that said that Jeff was like the pilot that flew Wooten to Alaska. And so I was like, Jeff Lewis in this episode. But then Victoria listened to it, and she was like,
you got my hopes all up.
She heard the first part, and she's like, I don't think Jeff is in here. And someone else wrote in a comment, they're like, I don't think Jeff is in there. So maybe I saw it wrong, wherever.
I'm not saying, ha ha ha.
So that's disappointing that I thought he was in there, and now it sounds like he probably isn't. So, but still, Wooten returns to Alaska. It's the first time.
That'll be interesting.
First time that we've been to Alaska since Basset Hounds.
I want them to mention his family.
Yeah, I really want more Wooten backstory. And it has to do with the Iditarod and stuff like that. Dog sled racing. So.
Is that the name of the dog race?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a strange name.
Well, it's not an English name, Victoria.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Anyway, so yeah, it's about the Iditarod and Wooten, and he's up in Alaska. So yeah, there's all that. Huge question mark, biggest, like, what is going on the list? BTV. What?
How is that going to work?
I don't know.
The episode
came out yesterday, and I really want to listen to it so that we can find out, like...
Part of me thinks that, like, Eugene's going to be in charge, because he was, like, co-hosting with Bernard the majority of the time.
Yeah. What did he say in BTV Grace? He's, like, one of the members of the board or something like that for BTV.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah.
And so Eugene's actually in charge of a lot more than people would think in BTV.
But not hand up.
There it comes back with a vengeance. We haven't talked about it for such a long time.
We are the only ones who will keep this fire lit.
Part of me, I don't know why, but I think Red Pollard. I can just kind of see them making him the host.
Well, I remember in 51, lots of people thought that Red was supposed to be replacing Bernard, and they're like,
no one can replace Bernard. Red doesn't even do windows.
Well, no, they're like, because he has
stuff.
weird expressions and stuff, and he fixes stuff, and the writers were like, no, he's definitely not supposed to be a replacement for Bernard.
Yeah, he's a replacement for Tom. He's the accent and everything.
Wow. No.
I'm not saying he has Tom's accent. I'm saying he has a accent.
Well, yeah.
And I was joking, Devon.
Okay, good. But, yeah, so BTV, is it, it could be a pre-recorded thing. That would be a huge shock.
That would make me cry. If it's pre-recorded and it has him, I'm gonna cry.
That would be incredible if they'd saved it up all this time as a secret, an extra BTV episode they recorded before Dave Madden passed away.
Maybe it was deleted because it's like inappropriate or something.
The not safe for work episode.
Yeah, the not safe for work one, and then they're just like, he died, so in memory of him, we're gonna release it. Don't listen to it at work.
You might want to grab your parents, or alternatively, you might definitely not want to grab your parents for this episode. Who knows? Yeah, so I don't know if... I hope at the least they have to address Bernard, because the B is for Bernard. Like, his name is in the title of this episode in an abbreviated
No, it'd be the
form.
ultimate insult if they're like, welcome to BTV, Bible TV.
Well,
and
yeah,
then-
because here's the thing. When I was little and we just had like BTV Obedience,
we thought it meant Bible.
my guess was that the B stood for Bible, and I was like, I guess
too.
it might stand for Bernard or something else. And then we heard, I want my BTV, and it's, you know, it's canonical.
And then Sam's just like Bernard TV.
Yeah.
So Sam declared it, let it be law.
Yes. But yeah, some people were saying like maybe it'll be like Barrett hosts it or something like that. Someone else with the B name. It's like, no.
I like Barrett, but not that much.
So, I don't know. It could be Connie or Eugene hosting, but they have to address Bernard. Please, you can't leave his name in the title and not address the fact that he's not there. Like,
what if they say like Bernard retired or something like that? Like they let Bernard have a happy
but they at least
ending.
have to say something.
If they don't say something, the next episode is just me 20 minutes ranting about that. And probably like 10 minutes you ranting.
June, to the ends of the earth. What do you think?
So I'm thinking either Revelations, which is I think what you put. Sounds a bit like Revelations. Or it could be an episode about love.
Yeah, I thought it could be like Revelation, like to the end of the earth, like time-wise. That's an idea. Like it could be about end times. We haven't had any episodes about that for obvious reasons. Focus is non-denominational, and there are a lot of opinions about Revelations, which are very different from each other. So it's kind of hard to do an episode about. The only real mention we've got of Revelations was in the beginning of The Pretty Good Samaritan, where we had that one kid who did like for a Sunday school project, and he did the entire book of Revelations in interpretive dance.
That'd be so trippy to watch.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it could be love, like I'll love you to the ends of the earth, like the strength of God's agape love. Another thought I had, I guess it doesn't really tie in technically, but it's the first thing I thought of was like the verse where it talks about like sin, like being removed as far as the east is from the west. That's as far as removed our transgressions from us. You know, so it doesn't tie into the title as much, but you know, we're just guessing here. So,
Pinocchio. Just gonna say straight up, I'm gonna have a prejudice going into this episode because I do not like Pinocchio. I don't like the Disney movie because it's really
think
weird.
of him
It
as
creeps me out.
August.
And Pinocchio is so obnoxious in Kingdom Hearts. No, August is different from Pinocchio. Pinocchio ruined everything in Once Upon a Time, and he is the most worthless character ever. August actually amounts to something.
So, yeah, it's like, on the one hand, Pinocchio, but on the other hand, Jace Mouse. But, I mean, either way...
They, like, balance each other out.
Jay is great, but the fact that he's playing Pinocchio probably means, and it's a two-parter, probably means, like, 45 minutes of crazy slapstick nonsense. Which makes me like...
I'm hoping that they take it a little seriously, because, like, if you notice Jay's episodes, they're starting to get more serious as time goes on.
It's already
ones that
Jay's
center
half
around him.
September.
Jay is like getting such good character development. So far, he's gotten the most character development out of like all the kid characters, and I think that might be
Except for
just
Buck.
maybe my prejudice, just and all my headcanons just interweaving that are making me think that. But what do you think?
Buck, Jules, and Jay have the best development.
I want Jules to come back.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. She's had too much investment now to not be able to come back.
I want her to move to Odyssey.
I'm sure she will.
I think it's safer for her here.
I would be
like,
very
a
surprised if she
safer
doesn't move
environment.
to Odyssey.
And then you can have your filthy little Buck Jules ship. You make me sick.
It's like Connie's family and Eugene's family. People used
But
to
it's
ship...
like the Bruce Tasha. No one actually wants it.
But they do want... I mean, apparently the fandom was originally outraged when Katrina came into the show because everyone was shipping Connie Eugene up until that point. And they're like, ugh, Katrina's coming in, ruining our Connie
Okay,
Eugene
you
ship.
and me never shipped Connie and Eugene.
No.
But I think that's because we knew about Katrina.
Yes.
But I think even if we didn't know about Katrina, we wouldn't have shipped them.
Well, we might have if we were now when we listened to those first episodes. All that
if we
bickering.
were now, but at the age we were, we never would have shipped Connie and Eugene.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's like Connie and Eugene, separate families, but now their families are getting together. So it's like, yeah.
If you want to make it even more awkward, you can make it like sibling and sibling. We could bring Everett back and he could end up with Jules. And you could have like a love triangle and it'd be like even more awkward than the past love triangle two-parter. And it'd be Everett, Buck, and Jules.
That would be weird.
And it'd be so awkward because if you think about it, Everett is Buck's uncle.
Yeah.
But Buck is older than Everett.
Yes. Yeah, Everett's probably a little too young to be dating Jules. He was like 10 in the top floor, probably.
I want Everett to come back and he's like a young Indiana Jones.
Hidden Gems. My first
That's the Steven Universe episode when Matthew comes back.
My first instinct, yeah. I think that's what we said the first time we recorded that is Steven Universe. And then we're like, we could have Matthew playing Steven Universe and Gunnar Sizemore playing Matthew.
And then we said like...
Man, that would be confusing to listen to.
When Matthew's voice changes... Steven's voice changes at one point in the TV show, and we were saying it'd be funny if we got Gunnar and Sizemore to replace Matthew.
Zach, yeah.
To replace Zach in playing Steven, and then just Gunnar takes over all of Zach's roles.
And then Zach goes to the bank and finds that Gunnar has stolen his identity. And then he goes home and sees that Gunnar sleeping in his bed.
And he's like, your parents are my parents now.
Yeah. Okay, that just turned into the Twilight Zone, but anyways. So
it's in my image now.
It's either going to be Steven Universe thing or it's going to be like a Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, and it's going to be finally we're going to find out where the time gem and the soul gem are.
I just want it to be 20 minutes of Vision because I just love Vision so much.
Oh, really?
I love Jarvis. I think it's going to be about looking for qualities that people have deep down, and I put in brackets, please be about Jay, because I think that would be a really good development.
Yeah, especially after 30 Jays and talking about, like, you know, you have this desire to do good deep down, but you keep on
happy
covering
about
it up
30 Jays because I've been right all this time.
That for you, that was not what he seems of AIO.
I know. That was, okay, never have I had a headcanon that I've come up with myself that I've been so invested in for so long, latched on to for such a long time, and then had it pay off beautifully. It was just the most wonderful moment for me.
Yes, I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for myself. Thank you. I'm just so happy about it. Thank you.
Excuse me.
If you want to know what we're talking about, go to our 30 Jays review, and you'll just see me full of happiness and anger at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah, in all seriousness, I do agree with you. It'll probably be about, like, looking for hidden talents or hidden traits and
You know what I really want to see more of?
like for trying out loud kind of thing,
Priscilla and Jay episodes, because those are the best episodes.
What Jay episodes?
Priscilla episodes with Jay. Just Jay and Priscilla's relationship is so entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
I want them to be my bro TP. Like, they are so entertaining together. Groundhog Jay is such a good episode.
I guess so. It kind of creates with Barrett and Priscilla and Jay. It's kind of like this weird red, pale, black triangle between them.
Yeah, like, if Priscilla and Jay were closer, they could be perfect
mate sprits.
Moirails? Not mate sprits. Moirails. Yeah, because just Priscilla, this is another reason why I love Groundhog Jay so much. Priscilla is the perfect counterbalance to Jay. Just, they work so well together in a scene.
And after the update the other day where we finally learned tons and tons about what kismesitude actually means emotionally. I think that Barrett and Jay fit even better into that. So, yeah, Homestuck shipping quadrants. Doesn't matter if you don't like Homestuck. The quadrants are by far the best thing to ever happen to shipping since the invention of the OTP. So,
What about the invention of the bro TP?
no, better than that. Cause
Anyway.
yeah. Anyways,
Walter's Flying Bus. That is obviously a new comic that Wooten has written, which is a blatant ripoff of the Magic School Bus. But in this one, Miss Frizzle is actually a man. They 63 her to make sure that they don't get caught for copyright.
wait a minute. What if it's Walter the Praying Mantis?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, continuity. So in this, Miss Frizzle is a prey mantis.
No, Miss Frizzle's the same, but Liz is Walter.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way.
No, but see, it's like Cal and Bro in Summer Teen Romance, where Miss Frizzle drives the bus, but Walter actually owns the bus.
So it's like, who's flying the plane? Walter's flying the plane.
If I'm Miss Frizzle and you're Walter, who's flying the bus? Yeah, so it's Miss Frizzle who's driving, but it's Walter's flying bus because he actually owns the deed.
Because he's in charge. He's got that lock and load on her. I like it. Such high expectations for this episode.
Yeah, this is very different than our first round of predictions for this episode.
This round of predictions is way better.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Take on Trust. Did you have anything else you want to say about Walter's Flying Bus?
No. I think that sums it up.
Take on Trust. I put, please do not be about Connie and Whit, because we have had enough episodes about them, which are trust issues. Not that they have not been done well, but we have done this song and dance many a time, so
Take It On Trust is probably about
I'm hoping
patience.
It's going to be about the kids.
It's probably about patience, moral-wise, I'm guessing.
I'm hoping it's going to be for the kids, because we have had a lot of episodes concerning all of the main characters that are adults we have right now about trust. And, yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think a Penny Wooten trust episode would kind of be awkward, because they haven't really had any, like, trust episodes about them.
Or
I
awkward
think it'd work
because
better
we don't
for the
really
kids.
know where this fits into the continuity of the relationship, given
Exactly.
the ties that bind.
And if it's like, if it is about them and it's kind of a relationship building episode, you'd think that would be in the actual show and not in the OAC.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be for the kids.
So we'll find out. We'll see where it goes. A Daughter's Love.
Camilla or Olivia.
Presumably.
Or maybe it could be about Jules.
Maybe we finally learn Priscilla's family, anything about them?
Oh, I want that. I want to learn more about Priscilla. I really like her.
Or I guess Paul already said it was in 59. We're going to learn all about Penny's family in 59 finally.
Yeah, but...
They wouldn't put that in the OAC.
Yeah, exactly. I want to learn more about Priscilla. I really like her.
Yeah, we don't know anything else about her family. Any siblings, parents, anything.
My favorite of the female kid characters right now, because she's just so wonderful. What about you?
I don't know. Yeah, I might say Priscilla. I really like her.
I just want more Priscilla episodes. She's really great.
Even though they make her name sound like the alliteration in her name makes it sound like a throwaway character name, don't you think? Priscilla
What's her
Peterson.
last name? Oh yeah, I think. Okay, when they first mentioned her in back in 51, like when you're right,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think she'd actually ever appear.
Well, yeah, because that's the kind of name that sounds like a burner name, right? Like a fake character name.
I never actually thought she'd appear. So when she did actually have like more than a couple lines in the background and stuff, and she actually started appearing in 52 and stuff, I was like, she actually has a voice actress. I didn't expect her to have lines or actually be of any consequence, but she's a really great character.
Mm-hmm. So
more Priscilla 2015.
So yeah, those are our predictions. Overall, you looking forward to how are you feeling about the season to come?
I think that it kind of looks, if we just go by the titles and our predictions, it kind of looks like we've got a few, I was going to say hidden gems in there, but that's not funny, and I didn't say that intentionally.
I laughed.
So I think it kind of looks like the past season. If you look at it title-wise, there are some that look like they're going to be like really good, and some that kind of look like they're going to be meh. But if we go by just the titles, like we did last time, we're going to be in for quite a shock about those meh episodes, because they're going to turn out to be really good chances.
Yeah, Walter's Flying Bus could well become my new favorite episode over top of Life Expectancies. Who knows? Follow Me was phenomenal. Super crazy excited for The Cure, and the fact that we have a 3-parter for it. BTV, I'm super curious about. So
Cure is really good so far. I'm enjoying it.
It's good. I really want to hear all of it, and that's the pain about this podcast is we have to record multi-part episode, each episode in between, so I can't listen to the whole thing, and I want to just listen to it all.
I'm terrible, so I've already heard part 1 of The Cure.
Yeah, so after we do this, I can listen to it. So, I'm excited more for the first half, I guess, of it than for the second half. But we'll see what happens. Who knows? So, yeah.
I was gonna say, got those hidden gems in there again. But gosh darn it. Okay.
Any other comments?
No. On that note,
let's turn over to Soapelessly Devoted.
Yeah.
Okay. And here we go, guys. Time for the last episode review of the day.
Last of the day.
Yeah, episode 295, Soapelessly Devoted.
Hopelessly devoted to you.
Yeah, go Olivia Newton-John, right?
John Travolta face.
Yes, written by Marshall Younger. Okay, so before we... episode description.
Oh, right. So in this episode, Erica gets scarred by Jason because he decides to teach her a lesson about why her taste in TV shows suck. And after that, she swears off all connections to TV shows and becomes a hermit, never to see the light of day again.
Yes. Is that your whole description?
Yes.
Okay, then. Yeah.
I'm kidding, that doesn't happen, but she does stop watching the show in the end.
Yeah. She gets to enter her favorite soap opera, Medical
in
Center
the Room of Consequence.
Love, in the Room of Consequence. And everything goes wrong because soap operas.
Yes.
So before we start, I have to talk about how I first got album 22, which is the one that contains this episode, because it's pretty funny. It was about 7 years ago, and my cousin was getting married. And so her mom, my aunt, is super crazy hooked on the Days of Our Lives.
The Days of the Times at the Sands of Our Lives.
Yes.
Sounds like a rap song.
She's a home ec teacher at the high school, and she would watch it like every day at lunch on the TV there, or she would tape it at home if she couldn't. So I was an usher at this wedding, and as a thank you gift from her, she got me this album. So as soon as I looked at the list of the episodes on the back, I laughed. I was like, you do know there's an episode on here about why soap operas are bad, right? So I've always found that so funny that she, of all people, was the one to give me album 22.
One time I was staying at her house, and because my parents were out of town and I was pretty young. I don't think Devon was there. Anyway, yeah, you weren't there. It was just me. So then she had it like DVR'd, and then she's like, hey, want to watch this with me? And I was just like, and my uncle's just like, no, she doesn't. Victoria, go run away. Be free. So then I went upstairs. And I went to listen to Odyssey.
Escape the event horizon of this horrific black hole.
She's played it a couple times. Like, she played it once in the lunchroom. And I kid you not, I didn't know that soap operas were actually like this. I think there were like, it was just one I think she played it for like 5 minutes. And I'm pretty sure like 6 different people said that they were pregnant, but I'm not really sure. And like 12 people were like, I'm actually related to you in this way. And it was pretty ridiculous.
When you realize it's not actually an exaggeration.
I know. And then there were like all these like violins in the background, just like dramatic music.
I know sometimes they're just like little moments in Odyssey where I feel like I'm like, man, sounds a little bit like a soap opera sometimes, where it's like we thought that Jeff was murdered by Andromeda, but he's actually alive because he was kidnapped into the witness protection program by the FBI and he's been living here this whole time.
Like Eugene's whole Leonard Meltzner arc.
Yeah, exactly. Your father isn't dead. He's really alive, but he was kidnapped by a rogue archaeologist who is his crazy mentor and who is in love with his wife and thought that he stole it from him. So he's been keeping him captive in a village in Africa for the past 20 years.
And then he's just like, but you can't be my brother. He's dead. No, I am your brother. No, that's impossible.
Yeah.
I dropped something.
Yeah. So, so as we start the episode, I really love it when characters make reference to past specific experiences they've had in the imagination station of the room of consequence. Like Liz does it in hindsight, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, she makes reference to the eternal birthday. And she's
they
like,
always leave scarred for life.
She's like, I still almost can't eat chocolate mocha chocolate fudge cake with chocolate chunk icing.
Like, do you think every single time someone sings happy birthday to Liz, she just starts screaming? And then there's just like, Whittaker!
Whittaker! Shakes fist.
But like in the Blackguard fashion.
Yeah.
So it's like, Whittaker!
Personally! So yeah, Erica does that here, where she references her Why Don't You Grow Up adventure.
I love how awkwardly she says it. Like, Jason's like, have you ever heard of the Room of Consequence? And she's like, yeah. I've heard of it.
We've
just like, don't remind me.
We've met before on the field of battle. So, cool side note that I kind of learned as I was doing this. So, it should be noted for the music for this episode is by Pat Woodland, not John Campbell. And it's quite noticeable because the music here is rather distinctive in this episode. And it's never used again, which is too bad because I really like it, especially there's this one syncopated bridge at 4 minutes in. And I really love it, and it only appears once. So looking it up, Pat Woodland has done 13 other episodes, including Flash Flood and The Fifth House on the Left, which are both episodes which I had thought beforehand they shared similar styles in the background music. So go me for unintentionally realizing that. And I also happen to adore the music for Flash Flood and Fifth House on the Left and Soaplessly Devoted. And yeah, I had kind of noticed a little bit that there might be similarity between them. And turns out, yeah, they're all done by the same composer. So bully for me. Pat on the back, self-congratulations. Go Devon for narcissism. I said this to Victoria about 2 months ago, I guess now. But when I was, because I think I said before, I was re-listening to all the episodes at work on my my phone, and I hit this episode, listening to it at the same time that we were wrapping up the episodes for Ties That Bind. Are you still there, Victoria?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I was listening to this same time wrapping up Ties That Bind, and we were talking on our reviews about how Whit is always ignoring doctor's orders and doing dangerous things, and how exasperated Dr. Graham and Dr. Mord must always be with him.
And Jason and Monty.
Yeah, so when I heard Derek's line was like, I ignored doctor's orders, ripped out my own IV, and jogged 2 miles to say this to you. I was sitting in the greenhouse, I literally said to myself, #Whit.
Hashtag all the Whittakers.
So
like, I bet when Jana was pregnant, she just like performed it herself and then
she did a
told her
water birth
husband
by herself
later
at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Whittakers do not like listening to doctor's orders. I was about to say something really upsetting about Jenny, but now I'm not going to.
Yeah, thank you for not doing that. But yeah, as soon as I got home, it was one of those things where I thought of it at work, and I'm like, I need to not forget this. I need to remember this so I can tell Victoria when I get home.
Because that is really funny.
It was really funny. As soon as I heard that, I was like, Whit. Right there. Do you think
Whit.
when Jason was like helping to code the program in, that he is like, I need to override it just to put this line in here to poke fun
No,
at my
I
dad?
was gonna say that too, but that was in the one that Erica saw before.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
yeah, you were right.
yeah.
Good catch. Good
So,
catch.
do you want me to start bringing up some of those other points? Because there's 7 of these,
Yeah,
and
sure,
we can talk
sure.
about them for a long time. So, first one is Jason plus censorship. So, because we all know, even if we haven't seen them, which Devon and I haven't really, that in soap operas there are a lot of bad things, like swearing and intimate stuff and alcohol and most likely drugs. So, did Jason censor these things out? Like, is Erica walking around and
She's naked,
she
but she
literally,
doesn't.
no, she literally sees like a blurred out, pixelated thing, and then she's like, "What is this?" And she like tries to pick it up, and she's like, "I don't know," and she just puts it back. And we also talked about the fact that how we poke fun about that scene where her and Derek are at that restaurant,
Yeah, that's how
and
it
then they
came
get
up.
milk. But Devon thought like, "Oh, what if it's not actually milk? It's actually wine." And they just censored it to make it seem like it's milk. And I think that's actually a really interesting idea.
Yeah, that's how it came up, because I talked somewhere at some point about how the milk scene, and how, it's like, they kind of like childed it down, because he's like, what's the expiration date on this milk and stuff like that, because they're making a play on, like, asking what the vintage on the wine is and stuff
Yeah,
like
like
that.
what year is it?
Yeah. And so that's when we got this idea that maybe it was supposed to be wine. Because, I mean, this is soap opera, so they wouldn't have that weird scene with milk as a kid, but that there's an automatic censorship.
Milk, it makes the body stronger.
There was a censorship in the Room of Consequence that wouldn't allow Erica to drink wine, and so it changed it to milk instead. And so
Which
we wondered,
is actually a really interesting idea.
yeah, so what other things could have been censored? So, I mean, my almost next point in the notes here that kind of ties into that is I've always thought that what Jason did with the Room of Consequence here a lot sort of relates to it. What he does here, I've thought that, the fact that he allows Erica to enter an episode of a TV show, especially an episode that was supposed to be coming out at the same time as the adventure was happening, unless, of course, Jason made up the story in the adventure and that wasn't actually the episode, that this whole thing was a precursor to Whit's scanning chamber that he first introduced in the American Revelation. Because the chamber lets you scan any form of media, and then you can enter that world, from a painting to a TV show to a movie to a book, and that's basically what Jason did here. And so that raised the question of how, because this episode is supposed to be coming out at the same time on the TV as Erica is experiencing it. So we came up with a couple possibilities. One is that Jason just made up the adventure, which presents a couple funny consequences, because, it's close enough to the show that, Erica didn't realize, which would mean that either that, like,
we're going to talk about all these
Jason,
things later. Just list them right now, and then we'll get into them later.
Well, we can get into it now.
I wanted to say something before that, though.
I'm going to just list them first, or do you want to say that first?
So I'm just going to list them. One is that Jason made up the story himself because he was being a jerk.
Which would mean that he had to, like, binge watch the entire soap opera.
Yeah, in, like, one night.
Exactly.
Which is hilarious to think about.
It ties to, like, the Black Veil, like, he's up all night just, like, zooming out watching the soap opera so that he can write this program. Which would mean that this entire adventure is Jason's Medical Center of Love fanfic.
The second possibility is he used those Whittaker connections and he got the episode early.
Yeah.
Or the next one is that he was doing on the fly, like as it's coming out, second per second, doing on the spot censorship, which would be very hard to do.
Automatic censorship. So yeah, the possibility, which I'd always assumed to be true, and I think it's still probably the most likely one because it's the same time, is that there's a cable feed which is streaming directly into the imagination station, and that assumption is what ties into the point I made, that if that's true, then the Room of Consequence is creating a program out of the media directly being streamed into it, which is what makes it so much like the scanning chamber and would possibly be like a foreshadowing precursor to that happening.
That's what I wanted to say before we got into the 3 points. Last time we made a joke like, with finally excruciating hours in Whit's End, just he finally makes the chamber so he can scan everything. Jason just walks in with coffee in his hand. He's like, oh, that's cool. It's a do. And it's like, it scans things so we can make adventures. Do you have any idea how long I worked on this? And Jason's like, oh yeah, I made one of those like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was literally like 28 albums ago.
What? No.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, to move back one point, at the beginning of the episode, like I get before Erica even goes into the room of consequence, I've always found this absolutely hilarious because Derek, Holly is asking Derek, she's like, but what about this past girlfriend? What about this past girlfriend?
And then, like, girl, take a hint.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not in love with Lillian because she lives too far away and it's inconvenient. He tells her this, and then later he says he's moving to Bolivia, and he's like, we can totally keep up a long-distance relationship. 5,000 miles can't separate us. And she buys that, like literally yesterday. He's like, she moved to the other side of the country. It's too inconvenient, so it's over between us.
They play Holly off as a very airheaded, ditzy character.
Yeah.
So that plays a lot into it.
True.
And I was gonna say,
but I wonder if that was intentional or not between those two things.
Probably. It was probably like a hint foreshadowing that you might not notice. That's just sneaky in there from the writers.
I mean, the question of whether or not they could keep up the relationship never needed to be answered because it became a moot point. So would it really be foreshadowing then? Because it's not really important. That's my question.
Maybe it was just like a joke.
Maybe.
Blatant foreshadowing that it's going to happen anyway. Anyway, go back to the point about Jason creating it himself. The funny thing is, if Kim did see Erica the next day, and Erica doesn't get the chance to tell her yet, and Kim's just like, oh my gosh, the episode last night, holy! And then Erica's just like, no, I don't even want to talk about it. And then it's like completely different. Like in Kim's thing, like Holly and Derek probably got married and stuff like that. And then Erica's just like, I don't even like that show anymore. Don't talk to me. And then and then Kim just like every single time Kim tries to tell Erica, she's like, nope, I don't want to hear it. And then so she never knows what's going to happen. I like to think like 10 years from now, Erica sees something, like she's watching TV, and then they're just like, oh, we're doing a revival of that old soap opera.
No, but here's the thing with soap operas. 10 years later, it wouldn't be a revival. It would still be going on.
Yeah, and then like she accidentally sees like a promo for a new episode, and it's just like Holly and Derek's kids and stuff after they got married in this episode all those years ago. And then Erica's just like, wait, what? And then she's like, Mr. J. Whit's son, I will find you. And then she goes to Whit's End and she finds out that Jason's dead in an explosion. And then she's just like, I was too late.
Plot twist, it was actually Erica who planted the bomb.
Erica's actually the whisperer.
Sherman Wirt, a.k.a. Erica Clark.
New headcanon accepted.
Oh dear. It almost feels to me like Derek and Holly were kind of prophetic of Mitch and Connie, because Derek gets some secret government job, and then he's like, I have to go far away to a different country for multiple years, and then there's talk of a proposal so that they could stay together, and then it all fell through in the end.
Yeah, Soaplessly Devoted is actually Kathy Buchanan's favorite episode, and she went back to it, and she's just like, I'm gonna trick everyone and make this the ending of Connie and Mitch's relationship, and no one's ever gonna be the wiser. But we know!
It's like, that...
and viewer.
That interview with, I think it was Paul McCusker once, where he's like, yeah, we're bringing back some old storylines that fans have really been asking for, and Dave Arnold's like, yeah, like Boswell. And they're like, yeah, the most asked for character to come back is Boswell the cat. Everyone's like, the ball of yarn arc, like this needs to be a thing. So that's what we're going to be doing now. And That was an interview they did a couple years ago. So that's basically this, is Kathy heard this episode and Derek and Holly's relationship. She's like, you know what? We need to take their relationship and flesh it out into a 40-part arc.
And she's like, yeah.
And then we'll make it Mitch and Connie. And then that's what happened.
And then, like, Erica and Kim are meant to represent all the Mitch and Connie shippers.
What if Erica and Kim were around when Mitch and Connie were going on? And they're like, this feels so familiar, but I just can't put my finger on it.
I really like the idea of just Jason binge watching the entire series, but it'd be like Gravity Falls with Stan and watching The Duchess Approves, where he's just like, he gets a TV and then he can't find the remote because it's like one of those like old ones where you can change it with the buttons. He doesn't want to push it. And then he's just like, and then he's like, Jack, where's the remote? Jack! And then, and then he's just like, Medical Center of Love turns on, and he's just like, no, and then it just constantly keeps on coming back to him, and he's like, has ice cream, and he's just like, and that has Duchess or Holly in this case, and she's like, I may be a duchess, but I'm also a woman, and she like takes off her hat, and her hair's like blowing in the wind, and then Jason's just like, oh, you go, Holly, it's just like my life, in a way. Are you okay?
I forgot about that scene in Gravity Falls.
That's my favorite joke in all of Gravity Falls ever.
Thank you for that, Victoria.
You're welcome. But, like, could you imagine making it even better? Making it more like Stan if it's Whit and he's on the archaeologist trip and how he gets addicted to TV and that's Whit instead. And meanwhile, while Jason's telling Erica to not watch Medical Center of Love, Whit just becomes soaplessly devoted to that show.
I was going to say, what if, because Jason gets hooked on it from binge watching it, and then Whit kind of loses self-control and ends up becoming a TV junkie again, and becoming hooked on Medical Center of Love as well.
And then they have like random jokes, like inside jokes in their conversations, and then they're just like, they won't get this, and then Whit's just like, you watch this show.
That's exactly
too.
what I was gonna say. Jason will make like some sneaky reference to the show just because while he's talking to his dad, and Whit will be like,
yeah, like Jason one day, like, Whit will be like, oh, I ripped out my own IV and ran straight here. And then Jason's just like, you're as bad as Derek. And then they just pause and look at each other and they're just like, no. And then they have like hidden TVs in their offices and just like all the episodes recorded on like VCR tapes.
Imagine them living together again after Whit moves back and they don't know that the other watched it and they're both ashamed for the other to know out.
I have to go work on an invention in my room for half an hour. Leave me alone.
They're both in separate things of the house making excuses to do something else, but they're both watching it secretly in different places, and they come back and they're both like trying to like come up with excuses for why their eyes are bloodshot from crying and stuff.
And he's just like, I got motor grease in my eyes.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He'll like rub engine oil under his eyes and be like, oh yeah, so he can like hide the bloodshotness from crying.
And then like Erica will see Jason and she's like, what's wrong? Why do you look so upset? And he's just like, I don't need to talk about it with you.
Whit will have like motor oil on his face and Jason will be wearing like welding goggles or something. Okay.
New headcanon accepted.
Oh, okay, man.
So, next thing is...
So great.
So, next thing Devon and I want to talk about is Trevor, Holly's brother. Did they show... This was my idea. They might have shown that he was a traitor in past episodes of the show, because they do that a lot with villains, like...
Yeah, we'll see villains POV.
Yeah. And then the heroes are none the wiser that the villains are doing things. So say they actually do show that Trevor is leaking Holly's secrets out to the press in a past episode, but since Holly wouldn't know that,
I guess, right?
Yeah. Since Holly wouldn't know that as a character, they blocked off those memories from Erica when she went into the program, so she couldn't remember them. And they made it so she wouldn't know anything like Holly wouldn't know too.
Exactly. So we talked about that and how Erica experienced the episode from Holly's perspective. And that brought up a really interesting point.
Are you going to talk about the commercial breaks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did Erica experience commercial breaks? I like to think
not just
that
but
if it was real time, every time there was like a commercial break, just the room of consequence, all the lights just shut off, and then Erica's just sitting there and she's like, hello, hello, and it's like, it's really dark in here.
Mr. Whitson.
Mr. Whitson, where are you? I'm so lonely. And then she's just in there for like 5 to 6 minutes while the stupid car commercials are playing and stuff. And
she can hear so yeah, there was that, but my initial point of wondering, I guess it led into it the other way around, because this was in my initial notes. So I was wondering, since Erica's supposed to be inside a TV show, did it kind of take the TV show and turn it into like the full medium you'd normally experience in adventure? Or did it still stay fairly close to like the medium of a TV show? So it's like, because in a TV show, if a character is going from one place to another place, right, you're not going to see it's not one continuous long shot in a TV show, right? There's camera cuts, and like, it's like, Holly's like, I need to be here now. And then, there's a scene cut to the next scene. We don't see her driving her car here, or we don't see her sleeping at night and stuff like that. Like, we get cuts from scene to scene. So it made me wonder if Erica experienced all the in-between moments, or if she just kind of mellifluously jumped from place to place across time and space and during scene cuts and commercial breaks.
Jump cuts aren't weird to characters, she wouldn't notice.
Exactly. It's like, it would be interesting if that happened, which also I think, basically, I really think that's how the imagination station works anyways, because it works in like a dream state kind of thing, right?
You mean the room of consequence?
Yeah, but it's the same technology, right?
Yeah.
You use it for different things, but it's the same engine, the same programming.
Novacom could have stolen the room of consequence and no one would have noticed because they barely do episodes about it.
Would have been a little harder to get the room of consequence out of the building, though, I think.
Yeah, no one would have noticed, though. But like, kids are too scared to go near it.
But yeah, my point is, like, I mean, we think about, like, how you can, right, like George Barkley and Jimmy, right, they experience like 3 days of adventure in 15 minutes because you're not actually experiencing the whole thing.
You just think you are.
Exactly. It's like a dream. Your brain is on full cognition during certain parts, and the rest of the parts you don't actually experience. It just, your brain kind of skips over it and fills in like the memories, which is why some stuff kind of doesn't make sense. And like, while the time that you're sleeping or other traveling stuff, you don't actually experience that in full cognition in your dream. Your dream kind of jumps between stuff and kind of blurs and fills in the gaps together. What I think it is,
it's like, if you can have like hundreds and hundreds of thoughts in about 1 second. So since it goes on imagination, I think it's just your brain working full thinking speed, and just everyone is connected to each other, and then that's why it seems so fast.
Well, yeah, but my point is the brain can't process faster in the imagination station than it can in real life. So that's my point, is what you're saying. Like, you're not experiencing the whole thing and your brain's just filling in the rest, which is exactly the same way that a dream works, because the imagination station works on like the same dream state kind of technology, like we talked about in our How Does the Imagination Station Work episode.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that fits into this a lot of the same way. Like, Erica's not experiencing that stuff, but she doesn't realize that she's not experiencing it.
So like, if they did show past clips of like the bad guys and stuff, do you think that they like actually erased Erica's memory, or she like came out of the imagination station or the room of consequence and she's like, I knew all that stuff about Trevor and I somehow forgot?
That would be interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like the brain blocked it out.
Yeah. And
yeah, because I mean, if it's streaming live, then during the commercial breaks and other scenes like that, what's happening to Erica in the meantime? Yeah,
and then there could be scenes where it's just Trevor like sneaking into a room and stuff, and she's just sitting there in that black room, and she's like, "Hello," or she's like doing something completely else because it is just continuing.
Or it's kind of like her brain is like in stasis in that moment, and she kind of like snaps back into it, doesn't even realize there was a pause in time.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be really funny if there were commercial breaks and she could, like you said, she could hear the audio and she's just in this black room, and then it has like the promo for the episode that she's watching, and then it says like, will Derek betray her and stuff like that, and then he's just like, what's the code to your vault? And then she's just like sitting there and she's like, what? And then it just starts again and she just forgets about all of that. And she's just like, oh, Derek, it's so nice to see you.
There's so many interesting implications for how this episode works in terms of understanding the technology.
The last one I can think of was, this one really boggles my mind now that we talk about all this stuff, because it makes some of the things we said not line up. Because we said it's a TV show. Everyone reacts like it's a TV show. Then there's that one guy, that one jerk who ruins everything. The guy at the end, when she says her name's Erica Colburn, and he says, do we even have an Erica Colburn on this show?
Clark.
The writers
Erica
never
Colburn
tell
is
me anything.
Aubrey Shepard's friend.
Oh, whatever. Erica,
Clark.
whoever her last name is. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
I'm not sure how to treat... I mean, in one way, it's kind of like that was when the program was, like, ending. So it's kind of like the program was unraveling. Protocols were turning off. I guess that makes sense. And so the fourth wall was broken. It's like protocols for the thing were disactivating, maybe.
Yeah, but it's weird to me, though.
Yeah, it is strange. And I'm not
like,
sure...
it's funny when you hear it, but when you really think about it, it doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah. You could just take it for what it is. I don't know. I'm sure you could, like, you know, ham-fist some convoluted explanation for it, but really I don't think it's meant to be looked into too seriously.
One last thing I want to say. When I first... Because the way Devon and I would listen to episodes is that he always listened to the first CD, because we always listened to them from the CDs from the albums, because this was before iTunes and all those fangled iPods and stuff.
You mean newfangled iPods?
Yeah,
I don't think fangled is a word on its own.
So Devon would always take the first CD, and then the next night, I would take the first CD and he'd listen to the second one.
Yep.
And there's 4 CDs. So I remember one time I heard Devon listening to a little bit of Soaplessly Devoted, and it was the night before I got to listen to it, and I just heard, like, Erica's voice. I didn't know it was Erica. I'm like, who is that? Who's that person? They sound so weird. Why are they talking like that? And Devon's like, that's Erica. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, what's wrong with her? Is something wrong with her? Is she okay? And Devon's like, no, that's just how she's talking. And I'm just like, why? And he's like, because that's how everyone's talking.
To be fair, after Counted All Joy, I mean, Erica.
Yeah. But I thought there was something, like, really, really wrong with Erica going into the episode. Like, I was really worried about her health going into it. Like, I'm like, something's wrong with Erica. Oh no, she's probably really sick. I hope she's all right. But...
Speaking of the way that people are talking about, the most classic thing from this episode by far, which Victoria and I always quote is, and lo, I am that fawn.
That is by far the most quoted line by me and Devon, and probably our favorite line in the entire series.
Are you sure? We have some pretty other well-quoted lines.
I think that's, like, in the top 5 that we quote the most, because we quote that line a lot.
Another one I quote a surprising amount is, I don't know, Your Majesty, we'll find out! From,
but we definitely quote the "and lo, I am that fond" more.
Probably.
Because I can only think of, like, 4 times when you've quoted that last one.
I say it to myself a lot.
Well, together we...
Literally anytime I see anyone on a TV show in real life say, I don't know, that's what goes in my head. Whether I say it out loud or not. Which is funny. I don't know why that line stuck with me so much. But
this is by far one of the funniest Odyssey episodes. I recommend it to everyone. It is such a funny episode. It does everything right. What do you think?
Couple more things before our final thoughts. In the background at the restaurant with Holly and Derek, they're playing the Moonlight Sonata. I was like...
Yeah, I heard that listening to it today.
I always like to pick out classical music in the background on AIO.
I was thinking, like, I know what song that is, but I can't remember what it's called.
Also, I mean, I guess this kind of fits into the whole, like, milk wine thing, but Derek covered a 2-person sit-down, hand-weighted dinner with $10. I was like, were they eating
I don't want to do that.
I was like, were they eating at Shea Costco? Or
That's just, like, in the Nostalgia Critic review for the car one, and then he's, like, looking at the gas prices, and he's just like, whoa, I hate you, 1964, and stuff.
Yeah, it's like
whatever
the
year it
Shaggy
was.
Dog, where he's like, "Hey, could you lend me $1? I need to fill up my tank with gas." We're like, "Wow, this really was made in the 50s." Not even, like, not even to get a gallon with $1, but to fill up his tank with $1.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple special notes too, I guess. The character of Victoria in this episode is a reference to the famous actress Tallulah Bankhead, with her trademark way of calling everyone darling.
Like Cruella de Vil.
Yeah. And Erica, as Holly, when she's receiving her Academy Award for Best Actress, she says, "You like me. You really like me." And which is a spoof on Sally Field's famous Oscar acceptance speech, which contained the line, "I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me." So that was...
I can't believe someone actually said that.
It was like a joke speech kind of spoof thing, but yeah.
Okay.
Anyways. Yeah, that was a reference to that. So, final thoughts.
This episode, just after talking about all of the deeper levels of this episode, it's starting to seem more complicated than Follow Me, which really says something.
I'm so happy with our headcanon about Jason and Whit and Medical Center of Love. Oh my goodness.
Me too. This is by far one of my favorite reviews we have ever done.
Yeah. This whole
Oh my
whole
God.
episode, Follow Me and the predictions in this, yeah, I think it's definitely up there with Life Expectancy and Back to Bethlehem.
So, this episode is, like, I think it's in my top 5. I really, really love this episode. It is just so wonderful, and I have such a greater appreciation and love for it now that we've talked about all these things, and I hope you as the viewer do too, and I hope you do too, Devon.
I do.
Like,
By far.
Everything about this episode is wonderful. And lo, I am that fawn. You have to do it with your
Allow me to
hand
read an
motion.
excerpt.
Oh,
I was
just
prancing through a babbling brook. Okay, so is that the end of your final thoughts?
it's 5 out of 5. If more stars than that even. I just love this one so much.
Yeah, I probably would have given this episode 5 out of 5 or something very close to that already, but after all the extra stuff that we added in today, it's like, man, so absolutely with all the interesting implications for the technological things
Who wrote
that we
this one
talked
again?
about. It was Marshall Younger, I believe.
Thank you, Marshall. You wrote this
let me
one
double
in,
check.
part of Follow Me.
Yes.
You're just too many levels of your cleverness.
Yeah, this episode's great.
This one was not too clever for us, Devon.
We forgot to
Because we
talk.
figured it out.
We talked about this last time in the one that didn't have any audio. I forgot. How it's interesting, this episode was a very long time coming in doing a full spoof of a soap opera, because this is the 4th soap which has been mentioned on Adventures in Odyssey.
Like Young Hearts Turning
Yes.
and
Young Hearts
The
Turning is...
Hair Toupee one, which actually after
One.
seeing a couple clips from a soap opera and seeing how much they do overact, I can believe that toupee thing would actually
Yeah.
be in a soap opera and have an episode centered around it.
The Sylvia and
people
Roger
would
and
cry
Roger's
over
receding
it.
hairline, which is The Sands of Our Lives. And then there's, of course, Heartbreak Condominium with Chad Pearson. So this is the 4th soap opera that we've known about on Odyssey in that world. And
You know, Chad Pearson's, that seemed the least soap opera-y
It
out
did.
of all of them. It actually sounded a bit more like an action TV show.
yeah. So, the show loves to make fun of soap operas, so it was a long time coming to finally have an episode that did like a full-on spoof and kind of addressed it in a more moralistic sense than just a humor comedy sense. So that was great. This episode was fantastic. The music, I also noticed towards the end, also some musical bits which kind of sounded a lot like Share and Share Alike, which is another one of the Pat Woodland episodes musically. So yeah, music, fantastic. Humor, fantastic. All the stuff and all the headcanons we came up with would just make it so much better.
Erica's
So,
the
yeah.
Whisperer and Whit and Jason gang hooked on Heartbreak Condominium.
5 out of 5. Yeah. What are we doing next time, Victoria?
Nothing as entertaining as what this was.
Don't say
is
that.
it the... What?
Don't say that.
Just watch this episode again. Give us more views. Is it the Eugene
Yeah.
one? Okay, so next one is the discussion topic, does AIO center around Eugene? It's kind of going to be a bit of a debate episode where Devon argues that it does, and I argue against him.
Yeah, all of our discussion episodes so far, we've been, basically presenting an argument on the same side for a question, but, I wrote my argument, and Victoria, she was like, yeah, see that and stuff. I wrote it out, and Victoria's like, well, I can think of some counterpoints. I'm like, you know what? Let's, do it against each other.
There's some things I agree with Devon, and there's some things I don't.
Yeah,
so I'm going to rebuttal him.
It'll be interesting.
Because I can.
I'm not sure if we'll be able to objectively declare a winner because, it'll just be the two of us. But
I don't think we will.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of a more, opposite direction thing. So, yeah.
I have a dog.
That's next time. Hey, GJ. And until then, I've been Devon Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And I've been Victoria, because I haven't said my name in this episode yet.
Well, you did at the beginning.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Never mind. And thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. This has been the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
Did I get it?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll find out in post. Goodbye. Bye.